Eye for Homes TV presents Buying Your Dream Home Today with Kathy Nelson and Tracy Nelson. And now, Kathy and Tracy.
Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Kathy.
And I'm Tracy, and we are a husband and wife real estate broker team with John L. Scott in Redmond, Washington.
And you are watching Buying Your Dream Home Today, a weekly webcast that happens every Friday at noon.
These shows are focused on getting you the information you need to go out with confidence and buy your dream home.
And today's topic is
Zestimates.
So if you're buying a home right now, you've got your smartphone. Every night you're looking at all sorts of things, especially Zillow.
And when you're looking at Zillow, you're probably really interested in what house prices are, what the house values are. And that's where Zillow has this thing called Zestimates. And we are very honored to have with us today Svenja Gudell, the Director of Economic Research with Zillow. So, hello, Svenja.
Hello, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. As you guys mentioned, I'm the Senior Director of Economic Research at Zillow, which is a fancy way of saying that I run our economic research team. And we have roughly 10 folks here in Seattle that work exclusively on economic research. And that means really answering any sort of questions that might be interesting for buyers and sellers and really anyone out there on the street having to do with housing. So things like, should I buy or should I rent? Should I get a mortgage, and what type of mortgage should I get? GSE reform, what's happening with that? Affordability, is it a problem across the country or not? What are prices doing? So really any sorts of questions having to do with housing, we try to address. My team works on kind of crunching numbers and making it accessible to the consumer out there.
Wow. It sounds like you have a big job.
It's a fun job, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
It looks
well,
like
that's great.
Yes.
Before at Zillow, it says you have a PhD in finance from University of Rochester.
I do, yeah.
And you were, worked at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York.
The Reserve must have been an awesome start there.
It was, that was my first job out of college, and it was fantastic. I really enjoyed working there. A ton of smart people worked there, and we did a whole bunch of research, and it was just super incredibly interesting, and I met a lot of great people. And it was the type of job really you want first time out of college, because you didn't get stuck having to make photocopies. You actually worked on really interesting problems.
Wow.
That does sound nice.
And Zillow was able to catch you.
They were, yes. I was very interested in moving to Seattle. My husband works here for Microsoft. And
that is the perfect scenario too, Zillow and Microsoft, Seattle.
It's so true. And I actually live over in Redmond, so
nice.
I'm right in your backyard there.
Did you use Zillow to find your house?
Yes, actually I did use Zillow, believe it or not.
Good answer, good answer.
Yes. And we bought a house here, and we truly enjoy living in the Northwest. It's been wonderful.
Oh, good. Yeah, yes. We've been here for 20 years. It's a beautiful place.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So let's get into Zestimates. It's one of the most interesting things on Zillow, probably, what people look at a lot. And so what are they? What makes a Zestimate work?
So just to define what the Zestimate is, it's really an estimate of your home's value. So if someone were to give you a very educated guess of what your home is currently worth, that would be the Zestimate. And it's a starting point because it is in statistical language, a point estimate, which means it comes with a confidence interval. It's, it's not the true estimate. It's not the same as an appraisal or anything like that. But it's what a machine with a whole bunch of data through millions of models thought your home was worth. And it really gives you a great starting point to get a feel for what that house might actually sell.
It does. That's a good point too. That it's a good starting point. That's what our clients have done. Is they've done the research before they come to us, right. And it's usually going to Zillow and some other places too. And I have Zillow on the there's a Zestimate kind of look of what you would be doing on the screen, so if you can put that up, to where you find your area that you're interested in, and Zillow hones in on it, and then you go from there.
Yeah, in the book, I read the book recently, the Zillow Talk.
Yes, that's right.
And it was a good book. I really enjoyed it.
Excellent.
It talked about those millions of calculations, millions of things that happen, right. and the algorithms that go along with it. And I guess there's some pretty sophisticated algorithms, and it.
There are. Yeah, I can give you a little bit more background if you're interested to kind of see the sausage making, if you will, of what goes into the Zestimate.
Yeah, that would be great. Yes.
Yeah. So it's really what we do is we take the U.S. as a whole and we split it up into thousands of what we call micro-regions. And all these regions are a collection of homes that are fairly similar to one another. And these can be fairly small regions and sometimes slightly larger regions. They're not zip codes or anything like that. They're whatever we make them up to be. But they'll always have that collection of homes in an area that are similar to one another. And in every one of those regions across the U.S., we run thousands of models. And these models will usually be, a matchup between a model and an algorithm. So, you can think of like machine learning types of models that we do, k-nearest neighbor, or a appraised emulation type of model, or straight up linear regressions that we do. So any models or random forests that we also frequently use. And within every sort of little micro-region that we have, we run these thousands of models, and then we check to make sure how accurate these models are. And we do that by looking at the sale price and the actual estimate, the Zestimate that was created by a model right before the sale of a house happened. So blind to the actual sales data. And then we compare, if the Zestimate was really close to the sales data, the model did pretty well. And if the Zestimate that was created by that model is really far off from that sales data, it didn't do so well. And then a meta model, which is a model that parent model, if you will, sits on top of all these other children models. It judges how well all these children did and says, I'm going to pick you and you and you because you performed best, and it blends them all together and creates the final Zestimate.
Holy
you sound like the mommy of it all.
Well, if you think about it in terms of, I always like to use the example of a winemaker. If you're trying to create like a really nice red wine blend, and you take a little Merlot, a little Pinot, a little Cab, blend it all together. That's really what this meta model does, to blend it all together and come up with the best possible Zestimate we can come up with.
And in the book it says that blending is of 1.2 million statistical models a night.
That's right. That's exactly what happens.
Hey, it's just a little bit,
Just churning over here.
That's pretty awesome. So, I like how you use the metaphor with the wine too.
Oh yeah, you'd like that wine stuff. So you kind of touched on it there about how Zestimate kind of molds itself to be as accurate as it can be. That's one of probably the things about the Zestimate that I don't know, controversial sometimes, at least with real estate agents. And what is it about the accuracy? Can buyers really depend on the value that they see when they look at a Zestimate?
I always think it's a starting point. So it's a good estimate of what the house could sell for. But one of the things I always recommend is, given that it is a point estimate, and it's not, the true value, I recommend looking at the value range. If you go to a homes page and you look at the Zestimate, there's also a value range that's listed. So say the Zestimate for a house on Education Hill is $750,000, but the range is anywhere from $680,000 to $850,000.
Yeah, we're actually looking at one that's
$750,000.
This one's kind of interesting because it's just gone on the market, I think, a few days ago. It's sale. What it's up for sale for is $750,000.
Okay.
The Zestimate is $656,000, and the range is, let's see if I can see it here, $610,000 to $702,000. So and actually, maybe some of the other houses in the area might be closer to that range. So it's just very interesting that the sale price is $750,000.
Yeah, so that you can see the sale price is well out of that range, and that's a fairly tight range around a Zestimate. So that kind of gives you a sense of, is that Zestimate really far off? Because if you were to look at that range and it was like $350,000 to $1.2 million, you'd be like, okay, they don't really know what this estimate is here, right? Because the range is huge.
Yeah.
And so you want to believe more in the Zestimates that have a very tight range than the ones that have a very large range. And that's all driven by data availability. How much data do we have to come up with a great estimate? And we always try to come up with an estimate because we think it adds value to a transaction. But, sometimes it's not as good as other times.
Right. We're looking at one here that is range is $418,000 to $462,000. And this one actually sold just recently for $453,000, and the Zestimate is $439,000. So that all seems fairly consistent. Do you think?
Right. Yeah. No. And that sounds good. That's pretty tight, I'd say. And of course, keep in mind these are created by a machine, so no one has ever viewed this house and walked through, which is where you guys come in.
Well, and that's what I was going to bring up too, is that it helps. When they start looking, because most of the people that I know, our buyers they've got the smartphone and they're looking at Zillow and all the other apps, and they're getting a sense of where they want to go, what houses they want to see, and these just what you have on here on Zillow, the Zestimates, help them figure out the range of where they want to go.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Kathy. I think it's, if when you're first starting out and you're doing your home search, like I have a budget of roughly, $500,000, you want to be able to look at homes that you could actually afford. So having that Zestimate there is really gives you a nice flavor for the neighborhood. Even if there's currently not a home up for sale in that area, it tells you, okay, this might be an area I could afford to live in, and it's really a nice educational tool in that sense. And then once you start to go further down the road, we always recommend contacting a local real estate agent who can tell you more about that area and who can help you identify a house, walk you through that house, and then also give you a little bit more information about what that house might sell for, or what kind of competition you're going to face as a buyer in that marketplace.
Yeah, it all starts with the online search, and then it goes on from to one of us.
No, it's very true, and I think we've come so far in relatively short amount of time in terms of how a home search is now conducted. We used to, I remember my parents buying homes, and there was no internet that you could turn to actually browse homes in. So that there was no Zillow back then to do this. So they were very dependent on kind of seeing what they were showing, and now you can do a lot of that pre-shopping up front. So it's kind of nice to be have that input into the process.
It is. It's just a whole different world.
Yeah, your life is totally, the lifestyle of doing this too is totally different than 10 years ago, when you can look at everything after the kids go to bed and email or text or whatever your agent, and the next day you can go out and look at all those homes.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention that we do actually publish our accuracy. If you go to Zillow.com and you scroll down to Zestimates at the bottom of the page, then there is a block that tells you accuracy on that page, and it'll bring you to a table that shows you, our median absolute error for the nation, which is currently right at 8%. And then you can also do it for different metros or counties. We do better in Seattle. The metro of Seattle, we're right around 6 to 7% there, a median absolute error. And the great thing is we give you ranges too. We tell you how many estimates fall within, plus or minus 5% of the sale price, or plus or minus 10 or 20% of the sale price, to give you a real sense of, are both of these estimates fairly accurate, or are they, do they have more statistical error in them?
I like how you put it all on that on Zestimates page too.
Yeah,
you tell it like it is.
We do. I mean, we try to be very transparent. We truly believe that a consumer can be empowered by having more data to work with, and part of that data is surely knowing the accuracy of this estimate as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, this is a show primarily towards buyers.
Okay.
And so, just wondering that now you've talked about searching for homes using Zestimates and getting the price range that you're looking for, and that's great. Is there any way that you suggest to use Zestimates when making an offer for a house, or maybe during the closing process?
I think it's great at the beginning of the process. I think once you actually have seen the house yourself, you've gotten your realtor's opinion on the house, judged the local competitive landscape, it's probably not quite as useful anymore as it was in that initial step. Because you have gathered so much more information along the way. Having said that, though, I know people definitely use it as a signal to see, are people listing really low and trying to get multiple offers on this to raise it up, because this estimate is much higher, a lot of times indicating that they really listed low, or are they listing a touch too high? But again, I really think that getting a real estate professional's opinion on that is extremely helpful.
Well, we can't agree more than that. More on that.
Thank you.
Well, we're almost out of time here, and I know you're very busy over there at Zillow. So, but we were wondering if you could just give us a little bit of maybe what we can expect in the future, any new Zestimate and Zillow features we can look forward to.
Sure. I mean, we have multiple teams actually that constantly work on improving our website, and we have a whole team dedicated to the Zestimate, trying to make that better on a daily basis. And so we come out with new iterations all the time that improve how we measure home values, and it's a lot of times reflected in our error. So over time our error has gone down tremendously, because we've gotten that much better at trying to value homes. And we put new features on our site all the time too. Not too long ago we put school information on our webpage, and that was very useful for buyers. And we have now a forecast for what your house might be worth a year from now. So that kind of gives you a hint of, is my home's value going up, or is it staying relatively flat, or in some areas is it even losing value? So we really come up with new products all the time. So stay tuned and check often, I guess I would tell you.
Well, that's excellent.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on our show today.
Yeah, it was wonderful to have you here. Thank you very much for giving us your time.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now that when we can help our clients out by giving them the source, it's really nice.
Yes,
to
that was definitely going to the source.
Yes, that was the source. And so everybody, thank you so much for being a part of today's show, and look for more on iforhomes.tv.
iForHomes TV, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.